We got the NFC South now. Let's go over their narratives since it's only 3 teams because we already did the Bucks. So we'll do this one, and then we will be out of here. So here we go. All right, the Saints. What was our training camp narratives to watch for? Who wins the starting quarterback job? Well, now we know it's Jameis Winston, certified by Sean Payton himself, and we think that is the right decision after watching both those quarterbacks through the first 3 preseason games. Jameis Winston in the finale, oh my goodness, looking fantastic, or Taysom Hill in the finale still, struggling a little bit. So I do believe Sean Payton and the Saints made the right decision at the starting quarterback position. Who steps up as the true one leader? Because, we know Drew Brees was kind of the overall leader of this team, and we were looking for who was going to step up in that place, and we believe it's going to be Jameis. Now that he is a starter, I think he's going to kind of truly fill into that role. And it's not that he was, waiting for himself to kind of be named the starter before he was, a leader. We were seeing some great things on the sideline and all that, in training camp and all that. So we think this man can kind of step in and not be as good as Drew Brees with the pre-game speeches. We still have to wait for Jameis Winston's kind of first pre-game speech after kind of the E to W and learning under Drew Brees and all that. So we feel confident Jameis Winston can be that one leader. And can Sean Payton coach? That's a narrative because we're like, hey, you're rocking with Drew Brees this entire time. Same thing with Bill Belichick. You only have real success with Tom Brady. How do you fare without him? We were kind of bringing that same narrative here to the Saints with Sean Payton. And it seems like, hey, he's making the right decision with Jameis Winston. So we give him credit there, not kind of forcing Taysom Hill into that spot just because he's been with the Saints a couple of seasons with, while Jameis Winston was only here for 1 year. So Sean Payton making a tough decision with naming Jameis Winston. Obviously, we'll know a little bit more this season whether Sean Payton can coach with the offense, and now Michael Thomas out for the first couple of weeks. So how can he kind of elevate the other wide receivers around him and put them in positions to win? So we still like what Sean Payton was doing. We believe, how many preseason games did they win? Did they win all of them? Or the only 2 that they played. So preseason game number 2, the Saints, they beat the Jaguars by 2. Perfect there, winning the game. And then preseason game number 1, they lose to the Ravens. So 1-1, not bad overall. All right, the Panthers. Can Sam Darnold play quarterback? Well, we still don't freaking know the answer to this. We're kind of leaning toward no because we didn't see a lot of great things out of Sam Darnold. He did play a couple of drives here in preseason, but some things that we noted while we were watching Sam Darnold is that kind of in key situations, kind of like 3rd and short or 4th and short or 4th and goal, 3rd and goal in the red zone from the 5-yard line, Matt Rule wasn't trusting Sam Darnold to throw the ball to get that touchdown, to pick up that short first down. They were heavily relying on the running game. So maybe Matt Rule isn't believing in Sam Darnold that much, so we're still question marks on that. We are kind of still leaning towards no, though. Christian McCaffrey, can he return to elite form? Well, we haven't been seeing him in preseason action, but we did hear from Albert Breer, who did his top 5 takeaways from the Panthers camp, that Christian McCaffrey is still looking absolutely great. So that first-hand anecdote from Albert Breer, Christian McCaffrey is going to be fine after coming off that injury. Our other narrative for the Panthers, Matt Rule, can he coach, and does his offseason moves pay off? Well, we still don't know about Sam Darnold, and that's the biggest offseason move. So let's see what the Panthers did in their first couple of preseason games. We've also kind of been hearing that the Panthers are still kind of in the running or in the mix to get Deshaun Watson, which we think is a bad look on Matt Rule's part because you just kind of believed big time in Sam Darnold. But let's see what their overall wins and losses were. They lose preseason game number 1 to the Colts, 21-18. Close game, though, so we give the Panthers a little bit of credit there. They lose preseason game number 2 at home, 20-3 against the Ravens. And then preseason game number 3, the Panthers... Where are they? Where are you, Panthers? They blew out the Steelers 34-9. So kind of up and down, getting better as the preseason progressed, but still a little bit of question marks on Sam Darnold and Matt Rule, and that's not great heading into the season. All right, and then the training camp narratives for the Falcons. How is Calvin Ridley adjusting to being an A1 Tier 1 wide receiver? We're loving what we're seeing out of Calvin Ridley. We can bring up his stats quickly here through the first couple of preseason games. I do believe he did play in the majority of these games. So let's see his overall production here. Let's start from preseason game number 3. Let's bring up this Falcons team quickly. Falcons against the Browns. Let's see if Calvin Ridley played in preseason game number 3 right here and what his production was. We've been seeing him in training camp and just kind of, some clips here and there of what he's doing in practice, and he's looking fantastic. We're not really worried about him at all. But let's see what he was doing in kind of game situations. He did not play in preseason game number 3. So I'm assuming he didn't play in any preseason games. If he didn't play in preseason game number 2, we really don't care what happened in preseason game number 1. We're not going to take like a one game sample size and critique it too much on that. So let's see what he did in preseason game number 2, if he played at all quickly. Preseason game number 2, Falcons lose against the Dolphins big time, 37-17. Nice 20-point blowout. But let's see if Calvin really got in the game at all and what he did. All right, so here we go. Receiving, Calvin Ridley did not play. So did not really play the entire preseason, but we don't have any doubts on Calvin Ridley. How is Arthur Smith adjusting to being a head coach? Well, we kind of know that they, lost preseason game number 2 kind of bigly. Overall, let's see where this Falcons overall offense ranked compared to everybody else. So here we go. We got the total offense here. Let's see, because we know kind of Arthur Smith, an offensive-minded head coach coming from the offensive coordinator from the Titans the last 2 seasons. So this Falcons team ranked second last, folks. Overall, they only put up 630 yards total. 300 of those were passing yards, and they only put up how many rushing yards? They put up 384 rushing yards, which isn't bad. This seems to be decent, like middle of that seems to be good, and that's real good actually. Having 384 rushing yards, which kind of is like top 5, top 10 definitely, maybe hovering around kind of 6 or 7, but definitely top 10 in rushing, and that's real gosh dang good. Let's see points overall, and we'll tell you why that's good in a second. They put up 30 points total, real low right there. That's real low. Damn, that's real low. So overall, the offense wasn't a highlight, but the run game was pretty good, and we want to say that because we don't like any of their rushers. We're still looking for kind of the A1 tier 1 rusher for this team, or just kind of the main rusher for this team. We're not really buying the starters here of Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. We're not buying into them. So Arthur Smith, is he adjusting to being a head coach? Still overall, the team still needs to be a little bit better. Didn't really get a true gauge of what he was looking like as a coach in preseason. But the fact that the rushing game was good tells a real good sign, because they don't have that good rusher, but they still made the rushing game work. Arthur Smith used to working with Derrick Henry, so the fact that the rushing game is still good here in Atlanta when it really shouldn't be, that's a real good sign for Matt Rule and the offense overall. So that's a huge takeaway here. And do the Falcons get a free agent running back? That was our last narrative to watch for, and they did not go out and do that. Let's bring up their running backs. I still think they are rocking with Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson. We get Mike Davis and Quandre Olson. All righty, let's see if he can Quandre Olson better than Cordell Patterson. So we'll see what this man can do here this season. But they didn't go out and get a Lamar Miller or a Le'Veon Bell or an Adrian Peterson or a Frank Gore or anything like that. So Arthur Smith still sticking with his running back guns, and it seemed to pay off. Alrighty, that is